Bizarre Brain Comics. Huh. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Mm. Hello, Gary here for Bizarre Brain Comics, where we like to talk about old comics, tell you about the creators, some of the history, break down the art, stories. Cup of tea. Yeah. Okay. Today, I'm going to talk about this book right here. This is the Justice League of America, number 88 from 1971. Written by Mike Friedrich, drawn by Dick Dillan. It's a classic. One of the reasons I wanted to do this is because just a short time back, I did that one about the Avengers versus the Squadron Supreme. And the Squadron Supreme was the stand-in for the Justice League of America. So now I thought we'd do Justice League. The JLA. Like I said, this is JLA number 88 from 1971. And the title is The Last Survivors of Earth by Mike Friedrich and Dick Dillan. Now, this is not to be confused with Gary Friedrich, who was also a comic writer. No relation. Mike Friedrich was born in 1949. He's the same age as my brother. He's an American comic book writer, known for work at Marvel and DC, and publisher of the independent comic book Star Reach. He got started in comics by developing an acquaintance with then editor Julie Schwartz through the letters pages of several DC titles. His first sale was a 10-page Robin backup story for Batman 202 in 1968. After his high school graduation, he went to New York for a tour of the DC offices, and so he could meet Julius Schwartz. It's still difficult to say Julius Schwartz. That's why they called him Julie. I already said that one. And he began to get writing assignments from Schwartz, and these were for a variety of DC titles. And he reintroduced the character the Phantom Stranger, who had been a 1950s horror host, and now he was an active character, and he's of a supernatural nature, and always pops in when there's some big otherworldly menace. When I say otherworldly, I don't necessarily mean alien. Okay. His first extended run on the title was on the Justice League of America from 86 to 99. Numbers 86 to 99. And this one falls right into that. After 4 years at DC, he moved to Marvel's Iron Man, and later on Captain America and Captain Marvel, and including other superheroes. He worked on the Western title, The Outlaw Kid. There's a little bit of a change-up. And he initiated one of the first independent comic series, Star Reach, and that was an anthology title, mostly science fiction, fantasy oriented. And independent comics rose to prominence in the 80s with the direct sales market through comic shops. Starreach expanded to publishing other titles, other indie titles, such as Quack and Imagine. I have a couple issues of Quack somewhere. They were funny animal. Not necessarily funny, but they were funny animals. Sometimes it was more adventure oriented. Oh, I talked about Dick Dillan, the artist, before, and that World's Finest, in that video, World's Finest, with Superman and the Martian Manhunter team up. So, let's go take a look inside the pages of Justice League of America, number 88. Okay, and here you can see the whole cover. Justice League of America. With a nice cover illustration by Neil Adams. Here you see the whole crew, Justice League crew that participate in this story. And here it says, and where the superpowered Justice League failed, these three ordinary people saved the Earth. And on television, and they're walking away, heads downcast. Then, like as it showed in that Avengers Justice League parody, has the roll call of the characters here. All these heads, nicely drawn by headshots by Murphy Anderson, Superman, Batman, The Flash, the Black Canary, Green Lantern, and the Green Arrow. And here we have just a few of those people. Yeah. 15 cents. Let me start off with a prologue. A nice splash panel. Dick Dillan. He did Justice League for many years, and I think it was he passed away in 1980. I think it was. Yeah, 1980, and he was midway through drawing an issue of Justice League at the time. Okay, and here we are, Justice League masthead, and we see the spaceship coming from deep space towards the Earth. And part of the spaceship here looks like the Daily Planet figurehead from the top of the Daily Planet building, and says, "People of Mu." So this ship, this is a robotic voice talking. The machines of the ship have a finding of unparalleled magnitude to report. And so what, and it briefly gives a brief backstory here. Mu, also known as Lemuria, but the kingdom of Mu, very ancient times, very high technology here. And there was a disaster on Earth, and the kingdom of Mu was inundated by the Pacific Ocean, and a few hundred or few thousand survivors got on this ship and took off. And they've been gallivanting around the galaxy, still in their seats but artificially preserved, hooked up to the machines of the ship. It says, "The Last Survivors of Earth" by Mike Friedrich, Dick Dillan, and inks by Joe JLA. And here are the scenes, and they're aghast when the machines describe to them that humans did not become extinct. They have carried on throughout around the world, and have achieved a higher state of technology, but not nearly as high as Mu. And then They're aghast and they're horrified that these primitives have taken over their whole planet. And they go, destroy, destroy, destroy. That was just the epilogue, the prologue. Now here we see, on an island somewhere in the Pacific, we have Carter Hall, Shayera Hall, who are alien, in parentheses, archaeologists, Hawkman and Hawkwoman, or Hawk Girl. And with them is Hal Jordan. And they're just on a little informal dig, and they find this artifact here. And they don't know what it is. I can identify. Nicely drawn. Shayera looks very nice. It's nice face there, and it almost looks like a Murphy Anderson face. And they don't know what the symbols on this tablet mean. But in the midst of this, then this strange lightning bolt zaps down and around the tree and zaps Shayera. But fortunately, Green Lantern was able to quickly activate his power ring and surround her in his shield, so she was only partially zapped. She's fallen unconscious. They need to get her to a doctor, and they're on this uninhabited island. So they quickly change. I wonder where Hawkman had all his Hawk gear stashed. And Green Lantern quickly changes to Green Lantern, and then Aquaman and Mera appear. The King of the Seven Seas, King and Queen of Atlantis. They were supposed to have been there earlier to participate in this dig. And so they find something that's going on, and they said, "This part of the Pacific Ocean is the most mysterious, unexplored area I know. Atlantis tells of ancient legends about the existence of a Pacific continent that also sank beneath the waves, though we've never found any evidence of it." And there's something that has been going on at a few other locations, and also involving what they believe to be artifacts of Mu, the ancient land of Mu. So Green Lantern contacts the other members of the Justice League and projecting holographic images of them while he's in communication with them. And then they decide they're going to split up and check these places out. Superman and the Atom, the Flash, etc. Leaving Aquaman and Mera to go to another location. While in transit, Green Lantern is also zapped because the machines detect his presence, and he was in close proximity to an artifact, and he is zapped, not seriously injured, but knocked out of the sky because his ring doesn't automatically protect him like it used to. It doesn't keep a constant shield around him. But he remains conscious just enough to manage to save himself, and he falls into the ocean, and he's injured. Meanwhile, Batman is with Black Canary and Green Arrow, and they're going to this other location, the California-bound Batjet. And he lets Green Arrow fly it because, and GA says something about, since that rat John Dillon drove me broke and I had to scrap my own aeroplane, I've been almost itching to fly. Yeah, remember, Green Arrow was almost a direct swipe of Batman. He was rich. He had an Arrow Cave. He had his sidekick, Speedy. He had the Arrow car, Aeroplane, all that other crap. But then he's suspicious. They aren't listening. So there's something going on. Oh, yeah. And Batman sitting behind Black Canary, he's remembering an incident that happened with them just shortly before it, another incident on another mission when they kissed. Oh, and see, Black Canary is in a relationship with Green Arrow. So they land, and Black Canary has often been on the outs with Jay. And she wants to takes Batman's arm and walk with him, which really upsets Arrow. And he's all ticked off. Says, she's choosing me over him? Batman, I've always been close. You've always been close since we met. A shoulder always to turn to. Remember, in this version, Black Canary came from Earth 2. Green Arrow is so strong-willed. I'm attracted but frightened by him. That's odd because you'd think Batman would be the strong-willed and very aloof and standoffish one. And she mentions how she reminds him of a brother. And that kind of disappoints him, but he goes with that. He's glad to go with that. So, Green Arrow is not happy about this and has a bit of a tiff. Batman gives him the keys and says, okay, you and Canary can take off in the Batplane. I'll be fine by myself. And part 2 is Superman and the Atom. And the Atom is traveling inside Superman's cape, where he has a little secret pouch where he also keeps his Clark Kent clothes super compressed. And Atom is not happy with that. And they go to Iran, I think. Yes, they're in Iran, and there's a natural disaster happening. Earthquakes. And there was an earthquake there in California, too. And this fellow here happens to have a medallion. He doesn't know it. It's a family heirloom, and it turns out that is an artifact of Mu, but he doesn't know it. So Superman is trying to help. Superman and Atom are trying to help save all these people who are trying to evacuate from the earthquake. They don't have time to investigate the cause of the quake, but they're just helping people. That's their first priority: help the people. Then, while the Atom goes to a university or whatever it is with a laboratory with seismographic equipment. And these people are trying to steal the equipment. Looters everywhere. But he's able to take them out, and they take off. And meanwhile, he shows that I didn't expect to have to play the all-knowing scientist bit again, but I believe I figured out the quakes are centered near the docks right here in this town. Then let's take a look. And then using his supervision, he sees Aquaman arriving at that location. But meanwhile, while people are still trying to evacuate, someone challenges this fellow that we saw with the medallion. Observe, we have nothing are mocked by he who wears a medal of gold on his neck. Well, it's not metal, but it's not gold. It's just golden colored. But to placate the people, he discards it, and it shatters on the ground. And when that happens, that quake stops. And meanwhile, Scarlet Speedster crosses the Pacific, Vietnam, where there's a huge storm taking place. All this, there's flooding, and there's this lady. She's in her hovel in the jungle someplace, and she has recently lost her family through the Vietnam War, as this was during the Vietnam era, and she's at an altar, praying at an altar to her house gods, and she doesn't realize that this is also an artifact from Mu. So while again Flash is unable to investigate the causes of the storms, well, he's trying to save people. So he saves a lot of people with his speed, but there's only so much he can do. And packs sandbags, etc., trying to mitigate the flooding. Then the lady is upset that her prayers have not been answered, and she smashes the altar with that artifact from Mu, and everything's right with the world. Everything's fine. Everything is fine. She grabs her some stuff and takes off. Meanwhile, the inhabitants of the spaceship, the Movians, if you want to call them that, they're not happy. Things are not going according to plan. They've got to destroy the others. But there's still one artifact, and it happens to be in a sunken Spanish galleon. And it's tsunamis and storms happening on that location. And here, in California, this guy here working on his car. And he also happens to be a surfer. He's disappointed that there's storms and he can't go surfing. And the ship comes down and Batman sees it. And he sees that he's trying to combat that, go check out the spaceship, he gets zapped and stunned. And then they snatch that guy who's the surfer, because he must have been near that medallion at some point, and it senses him. And they tell him, they interrogate him, and he says, everything on this ship is perfectly peachy keen except you. You've all become blobs, jealous of us who live normal human lives. Enough! Because these people are actually being controlled by the machine. So he runs around, tries to get, and manages to get away. But in the process, he had a wrench in his hand that he was working on the car with, and he literally threw a monkey wrench into the engines, which causes a terrible problem, and the engines conk out, and the ship crashes into the ocean. Hey, you Petey, you all right? When that spaceship zapped the Batman, then grabbed you, wasn't any problem. Fact is, I'm the one who took care of him. Yeah, I threw a monkey wrench into the works. So he just walks off, being himself. Meanwhile, Batman is puzzled by the spaceship. The other heroes arrive. Both the Hawks, Cher Hall, Hawk Girl. She wasn't seriously injured, so she's back, and Aquaman is with Mura, and they talk about what could have happened. We don't know. They just don't know. It puzzles out. Everything's back to normal. Everything's fine, and they just know it had something to do with that spaceship, which was destroyed, killing all those Movians who had been traveling through space for thousands of years. But everything's back to normal, so everyone heads home. That's kind of a nice Batman figure right there. Yeah, I didn't talk too much about Dick Dillan's art here because I talked about it before, but he is a quite adequate, probably more than adequate, because I know a friend of mine who really likes his work. It's stable, standard. Good storytelling, and I think Friedrich did a good job of storytelling. I'm not real thrilled with the Menace from Outer Space aspect, but that happened a lot with Justice League. This is still right at the end of the Silver Age, but it's getting away from all the silliness, but some of that stuff still pops in. And then this isn't necessarily silly. It's just the superheroes are distracted by saving people, and it's the regular people who unknowingly save the day. They just don't know what's going on, but everything turns out fine. Nice figures, nice visual storytelling, and good storytelling overall. I like Friedrich's work here, and Dillon's work. It was a fairly well-crafted story, except the conclusion is a bit unsatisfactory as a reader, just because we don't know, or the characters don't know what happened. But that's fine, because we, the readers, do. We do know what happened. So, and that's the end of the Justice League of America. the artwork is kind of a letdown after seeing this great Neil Adams cover, but I'm not bad-mouthing Dick Dillan at all. He was a very professional, did a good job of telling the story visually, and it's a fun read all around. So that's all I've got for this issue of Justice League of America from 1971 by Mike Friedrich and Dick Dillan. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Share it with your other comic book friends. And keep reading comics. Remember, comics are art.